Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our latest online event here at the University of California, Merced. My name is Ricky Hill, and I am your e-recruiter, and as always, I am so excited that you are able to spend some time with us tonight and join us while we dive into the popular topic of the SJV PRIME BS to MD pathway, and this tonight is an application workshop. So if that sounds of interest to you, then you are in the right place, my friend, and we are so excited that you're here so we can give you some more information tonight. Before we get started, let me go ahead and just give you a couple of quick Zoom reminders. If you need to adjust the size of your window, you can do that in View Options in the upper portion of your screen. If you would like to adjust your audio settings, you can do that in the lower left corner of your screen. And lastly, and most importantly, we always save time at the end of these webinars so that we can get to your questions live. At any time throughout the presentation, click on the Q&A button to send us your question, and we will get to those either behind the scenes if we have an opportunity, or at the end during a live question and answer session. Make sure that you do keep your phones handy because you may want to take some screenshots along the way, and so that would be very helpful for future reference for you. Once again, my name is Ricky Hill, the e-recruiter here at UC Merced. We're excited for you to join us tonight, and at this time, I'd like to hand things over to my friend and colleague, Noreen.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Noreen. I'm the admissions advisor for medical ed, and we're specifically talking about the SJV PRIME BS to MD pathway tonight. The difference between tonight's workshop and other ones is that this is an application workshop. I will not be going through a specific overview, but I will highlight and give some reminders of what this program is about before jumping into the different components of the application. And then, as Ricky said, we will end with some Q&A time. So as a reminder, SJV PRIME BS to MD is a workforce development program. It is not a career exploration program. It's not a college going program. You should already know that you want to become a doctor, a practicing physician, because the program is intended to train future doctors for the San Joaquin Valley. It is an 8-year program and a 12-student cohort for high school seniors who are becoming first-time freshmen. Anyone who completes this program will be receiving their medical degree from UCSF School of Medicine after finishing the Bachelor of Science here at UC Merced and all clinical medical training at UCSF Fresno. In terms of our partners, we have 3 campus partners, all UC connected, and they are UCSF, UC Merced, and UCSF Fresno. In particular, regarding medical pathways related to UC and specifically San Joaquin Valley, or SJV, I want to highlight 2 different pathways so that you are aware of the different 2, and then you are aware of what the application workshop is for tonight. The one program at the top is called SJV PRIME, or Program in Medical Education. The one at the top is the traditional medical school application timeline, where you would be completing a medical school application when you're almost done with your bachelor's degree. For SJV PRIME, you are applying to the UCSF School of Medicine directly, beginning medical school in San Francisco and finishing at UCSF Fresno. The difference between this pathway and the brand new pathway below that we just created is that no one needs to move to San Francisco for any of their training. We created this pathway specifically for Central Valley. All of the training happens in the Central Valley, beginning in Merced and ending in Fresno. The other difference between the top pathway and the bottom one is applying early as a high school senior, where this is a BS to MD program and the 8-year commitment. Again, specific on reminders, so you know what you're applying to. We've had a lot of students apply who might be interested in chiropractic, dentistry, nursing, pharmacy, etc. Examples given on the right of the screen. But we are seeking those who are interested in becoming a medical doctor, right, and getting a medical degree. And more specifically, that you are interested in diagnosing patients who are sick, injured, or have a disease. You are interested in problem solving those issues. And these are the examples on the left of different kinds of specialties and residencies. So again, just a reminder, please know we are, this medical pathway is from the School of Medicine. Related to the University of California, anything specific to medical or health is listed here on the screen. It's just a snapshot of the different campuses of the UC that actually have School of Medicines, which there are 6. But I want to make the distinction that there are other schools and programs if you're interested in those. So you will see dentistry, you will see nursing, pharmacy, optometry, veterinary medicine. In those cases, if you're leaning towards those professions, you should be looking at different UCs or different pathways. And then anything in green is PRIME program, and we are the newest PRIME program, SJV PRIME Plus, plus indicating the joint BS to MD. If it's the first time you've heard about PRIME, just wanted to give a highlight. University of California PRIME programs are specifically intended to focus and address the areas of California that are lacking in healthcare, health providers, and have specific needs regarding health and well-being of populations in need. So if you're interested in these programs, and PRIME Plus is one of those, there should be a community-minded mindset to you as a future doctor, and that you want to give back to the community, you want to address social needs, in this case, health needs, and you want to improve those populations and regions. So the offer itself, for anyone who gets accepted gets offered and accepts the offer, the award includes a financial award for 4 years, priority registration in degree coursework, as well as the pre-med coursework, a housing assignment in the living and learning community of pre-meds. No MCAT is required, and we hold your spot in medical school with a conditional acceptance upon successful completion of that bachelor's. And then throughout the 8 years, it's community engagement, volunteerism, research, clinical observations, and mentorship. Successfully completing the bachelor's portion of these 8 years requires maintaining a 3.6 GPA as just one of those requirements. When notices go out in March, there are 3 types of notices. One is a congratulations with an offer. Another one is we cannot make an offer to you at this time, but we want to offer you the wait list. Or the third notification is no offer. Now, again, to highlight what someone is applying to, you should be a current high school senior becoming a first-time freshman going into an undergrad program. It is okay to have earned college credit. It is okay to have done dual enrollment as a high school student, but that you will be applying and designated as a first-time freshman. So for PRIME Plus, only current high school seniors status are those that are applying. If you are not high school senior, those students are applying to regular medical school. Someone who does not get accepted into PRIME Plus, but is still interested in becoming a doctor for the Central Valley, then at that point would consider SJV PRIME, just the MD portion, again, completing the bachelor's and applying when you're almost done. And then just a quick snapshot. This is an 8-year program, 4 years of the undergrad and 4 years of medical school. Afterwards is residency and fellowship. The regular college timeline, we are right in the middle of it with the UC application already out. And then we are now accepting completed applications through November 30th. That is the first component of the application process for SJV PRIME Plus. The second is actually submitting a secondary or supplemental application with 6 questions and 2 letters of rec. Those questions are already posted on the website. This secondary or supplemental application is due in December. Once those 2 applications are complete, we move into the review process and we invite students for an interview in February. We move into notifications to all students in March. And at that point, if you've been offered, students have all of April to determine if they want to accept that offer. It's also usually the time when UC has their campus open houses. For UC Merced specifically, our Bobcat Day is in April. And May 1st is the deadline to commit, or what we call the SIR deadline, Statement of Intent to Register. So again, reminder, there are two applications for this process. The first application is the UC application, because UC is awarding you your undergrad degree. The second application is the SJV Prime Plus, because UCSF is awarding the medical degree. Just want to highlight corrections in case there's old information out there. Last year's information is that we had 8 questions, but this year's it's 6, but still a December deadline. Now, specific to the differences between the UC PIQs and the supplemental, one is that the UC PIQs, you get to choose 4 out of the 8 prompts, or out of the 8 questions. And then on the far right, our new supplemental application only has 6 questions compared to 8. And this particular audience who reads this and who created those questions is the medical audience. You should consider this application the medical school application. So ask yourselves if you would write your responses, which is similar to the PIQs of 350 words each. Ask yourself if you would write your responses differently, knowing that this audience is a medical audience. And when I say medical, that would include clinical physicians, medical doctors, as well as public health researchers, specialists, maybe even some medical scientists, etc. And again, how would you respond to those questions? And those questions are, like I said, already posted. Here's a snapshot of that website. 6 questions are posted for the supplemental. All 6 of these questions and those responses are due on December 7th. At the end of the supplemental question will be 2 letters of rec, names and emails, but I'll get to that in another slide in more detail. For being part of this program, you're agreeing to complete your Bachelor's of Science degree in anything green or yellow. This has already been designated as curriculums that line up exactly to medical school without the student having to find the extra classes to prepare or to meet the requirements. If you choose to major in anything that is not green or yellow, you are adding more time to the program, and we're wanting students to complete within that 8-year window. So again, we're requiring students to choose anything in green and yellow. The new option this year for existing high school seniors is public health, but the BS portion. Again, the reminder is you have to choose the Bachelor of Science portion in order for all the prereqs to be part of that program. When you open the UC application and you're choosing the campuses that you want your application read, you must choose UC Merced, because the program SJV Prime Plus is at UC Merced. Once those majors for UC Merced drop down in the menu and you start selecting the different options of majors, you must select the major that says SJV Prime Plus BS to MD. In the example given here for this photo and this graphic, if you are a student that chooses the top listed major, we will never get your application. Again, you have to choose the major that indicates Prime Plus in order for us to receive it and for it to get reviewed. So again, a quick snapshot and summary. There is a UC application, the broader application. You choose UC Merced as the campus because SJV Prime Plus starts here. And you were choosing a qualifying track, which is within the green and the yellow that was highlighted in a previous slide. Once you have submitted your UC application, it takes about 1 or 2 days for the system to email you the supplemental link, access link. And that's when you can start uploading your responses to the supplemental and submit by December 7th. Here in this slide is just a reminder of all the different components in this entire process for screening for SJV Prime Plus, there are 4 components to the screening process, 3 of which you submit. You submit the UC app, the SJV Prime Plus app, and 2 names and email addresses of 2 letter of recommenders. And then at that point, we would select and invite students to interview. If you reach the interview phase, it will be with 3 panelists, 1 each from each representative campus, UC Merced, UCSF, and UCSF Fresno, and then the candidate. It is a 30-minute Zoom. And again, I'll get to some of those details for the 4 different components shown here. Now, you may have noticed in some of the timelines and some of the slides, there's these 2 words underneath some of those icons, and the 2 words are called blind, have listed as blind review. The important thing to note about blind review is we hide your identity from the committee members, the reviewers, and the interviewer, the reviewers. That means your personal information is covered. They will not know your name, age, ethnicity, nationality, gender, etc. And so as you recognize that this portion is blind, if you feel as if there's something important to your personal identity that helps shape who you are as a person, and it shapes how you see the world, how you think, how you interact with others, or what you bring forward as a medical student or a future doctor, then you must put it in the PIQs, because the PIQs are not hidden and the supplemental responses are not hidden. So if there's, again, a part of your identity that you wish highlighted because it shapes an experience that you have or how you see the world, you'll have to not just put the parameter, because we do not select based on individual parameters. Again, we select on what you bring to the table, what you bring forward in your training, in your education, in your insight, in your interaction, in your leadership, being a teammate, etc. So the first component, the UC application, I won't go over any of these, but I will keep this slide up for a few seconds so that you can at least either take a snapshot of it or scan and notice that there is a webinar every week, if not at least 2 webinars each week on a different component of the UC application. If you're interested in joining that and getting advice on each of those sections, then you would register just as you've registered for this particular webinar. I also want to remind you of the information on the left. We have listed there an email address as well as a phone number and a website. And again, we're trying to show you the different resources available to you for support. And the reminder related to Prime Plus application is the UC application must be submitted before November 30th or by November 30th in order to receive the supplemental application. The second component, the supplemental application, is 6 questions, which are already posted. Similar to the PIQs, you have 350 words to complete the response or your answer. The reminder is that these are medical and health audience, and ask yourself, what do you want that medical and health audience to know about you and related to your desire to be a medical student and a future doctor? There's no need to get creative regarding any kind of poetry, literature, or even the 5-paragraph essay style. Just ask yourself, if this question was asked to me in person, how would I respond? Just go ahead and be direct, use your 350 words to explain you and your answer. The next components is the letter of rec. The control you have over this is to choose which recommenders you want to submit on your behalf. So the minimum is 2, actually that's the maximum is 2, but we are asking that you consider a backup. What is actually happening right now, as well as it happening last year, is there's some recommendation links that have been sent and we've been getting it bounced back because of bad emails. Or in the past, especially during peak deadline dates or close to it, I've actually had letters of recommenders say they can't do any more. They're pretty tapped out with either 10 or 15 students already asking them. But again, you're choosing the folks who know who you are as a student, can vouch for you in terms of your potential through the math and science, as well as your potential as a medical student, and highlighting more about who you are as a person. And again, how you would be as an individual, as a leader, as a problem solver, as a teammate, etc. So choose your letters of recommenders wisely and keep in contact with me if you feel like you need to swap out a new name or a new email. Anyone getting to the stage of an invitation to interview, that is the point, for obvious reasons, that it is no longer blind. We invite people to interview. They would select a date, and then they would, again, get matched up with 3 different panelists for a 30-minute Zoom interview. It is Zoom and virtual because it's hard to get these busy positions, faculty, etc., together in one place. Answer the questions that they ask, communicate clearly. They are understanding of anyone being nervous. That's okay. Just regroup and continue. And remember, the 30 minutes is about you. The 30 minutes is about you wanting to become a medical student and a future doctor for the Central Valley. Don't use your time to try to find out more about them or try to have a conversation or try to make friends with them. You're losing time in that aspect. And the focus is allow them to learn more about you so they can see how this program would support you. They can see if there's a good match somewhere in terms of mentorship, to see if we can meet your needs equally as much as you can get through our program. And now that I've explained the different components of the application, I'll hand it over to my colleague Ruben, who will actually do a live demo of the supplemental application itself.
Hello, everyone. Give Noreen's voice a break because I know she's been talking to most of you out in your schools and communities. I know Noreen said a couple days when you submit your application, but it depends on when you submit your application on when you'll get the notification on the next step. So if you submit on a Friday, let's say, then we aren't sent your application until over the weekend. And my team doesn't load your application until Monday, and then it takes a day to get things ready to go. So you might not receive that message on a Tuesday. If there's a holiday involved, then that's going to add more time to you getting that notification. If you submit your UC application today, then you might not, you aren't likely to get the next step invitation until Wednesday. So all depends on when, holidays, all that stuff. But like Noreen said, about a couple days after you submit your application during the week, maybe a few days added if you submit it on a Friday to deal with any weekends. And then again, the Thanksgiving holiday might add even more time. So keep that in mind. But once you do, you'll get the invitation saying that we've opened up the supplemental application for you. So you'll first get that UC Merced received your application. And then about a day later, you'll get the submit your Prime Plus supplemental application. You'll click on the link. You'll see a website similar to this one, which you should be familiar, hopefully, by then. If you haven't claimed your account, you can click the claim account link there. If you have claimed your account, you'll put in your information and log in, and that will take you to this page here. At the top, you will see kind of your application status. Congratulations, you've done the first step and you've submitted your regular undergraduate application. And then the next few steps, of course, is filling out this first part, submit references, your written responses. And then, of course, as we'll see later, you can keep an eye to make sure those letters of recommendation are submitted by your references if you want. You'll get some information about kind of when your deadline is. So your deadline, December 7th, to get everything submitted, those letters of recommendation, all of that in, and then just confirmation that the login worked correct and you're seeing who you say you are. So you have some reading to do, some clicking, more reading to do. If you agree to these different principles of communities and such like that, you can hit next page. And here's the first question of the application, your deep ties to the San Joaquin Valley. So you'll need to read this statement and answer it appropriately. I've been living in the Valley most of my life. I took a small break for 3 years. But we're going over lots and lots of decades that I've lived in the Valley. We'll leave it at that. Okay. So if you have deep ties to the Valley, you can then move on and select which counties you have deep ties to. You can select more than one if you see, as you can see there. And then how many years in high school have you had these deep ties to the Valley? So that's kind of the first step right there. Hit next page, and I forgot to refresh, so we might get an error. We didn't get an error. Great. Okay. So next step, submit your references. So here you'll put in their names. So I don't know. SpongeBob SquarePants test@test.com. And then their relationship to you. So personal is not recommended. This is going to be family, friends, neighbors, whatnot. Instructors are great. We actually require at least one be from an instructor where you've taken classes from, preferably math and science courses. But if you have any professional relationships, you can use those as well. Maybe you've shadowed a doctor or something like that. You can do that. And then next one, we'll say this one's a professional relationship. And the letters, we do prefer them be blind, so you are waiving your right to receive a copy of these letters. And your references will understand that you won't see a copy as well, so you'll click that and hit continue. At this moment in time, almost immediately, but definitely within an hour, your references will get an email inviting them to submit their letters to the system no later than December 14th. So they do have a few more days than you do to get their letters in. But there's that. Once you submit your references, you'll come back to this page and you can see that the next step's complete. And you can, you kind of see the same things, but now you get to see the statuses of your references. So you can see who you submitted, you can confirm their email address is correct, and you can see the status of it. So at some point in time, if they submit their letter, you'll see the status move to submitted, and you know that it's been submitted on your behalf. So once you're ready, maybe you need a few days to finish those written responses up. You can hit continue. Maybe you're ready right now. That's fine. You can come into here, and the next step is just submitting those written responses. So, I'm going to copy and paste my responses. Now, I do recommend that you spend a little bit more time in your responses than I'm spending on mine. But you can just copy and paste them if you've prepared them already, and just kind of go question by question. Again, if you're like, Ruben, slow down, I can't read all the questions. Maybe Noreen or Ricky can copy and paste a link to the website that has the questions on them already, so you can read them and start preparing your responses to those questions. So all the questions are online. We're not hiding them at all. You can start your responses now if you want to, but put in all 6 of your responses, hit submit. And now you've pretty much done your part. The only thing that you need to do is maybe come back to this website every now and then, log in, and check to make sure that both your references get submitted by, again, that deadline of December 14th for them to get those letters in. As soon as they're submitted, then your application is considered complete. So that's the quick demo. Hopefully it's not too painful once you get access to complete that. Just a lot of copying and pasting, putting in names and such like that. With that, I will pass it back on to Noreen to finish the night out.
Thank you, Ruben. So we've gone through the demo now, and then he's gone through some of this already. And the reminder right now, actually, is as you are writing your responses, just remember there are different parts to the entire application. And so there's content in your UC application. And so you should use PIQs and the supplemental questions to contextualize all the things that you did. You're not simply telling us what you did. You are now telling us the importance of the decisions you made and why you chose those activities. why you did dual enrollment, why you did a health academy pathway, why you did a summer research project, or why you volunteered at a certain place. Again, it's not just the content of what you did, you are now helping the readers and the committee members see and envision you as a future doctor for the Central Valley. You're taking all of your background experiences, environment, classes, accomplishments, and sharing with us, again, how you bring forward yourself into this program. So the goal on the committee's end is to select a team of 12 of diverse students, not simply by representation or by location or whatever the case may be. We're looking for diversity also in thinking. When it comes to diagnosing issues of illness and injury or problem solving those topics, it's teams of medical, it's of medical teams, and from those teammates, you are looking at the issue from every angle you can think of. So again, diversity can include representation, as well as interests, experiences, backgrounds, as well as thinking. At some point, as you're completing all of these parts of the application, you are explaining again what you did now, what you're doing now, what you did in the past. The more that you can move into the vision of your future, the career you want to create, the life you want to create, or already envision yourself in the white coat, the more helpful it is for the readers to understand what you're trying to do. I'll bring up this slide again. The reminder is that we've had some amazing applications last year, but we've had to decline those apps or not have them move forward because they were trying to apply and create a different a career in a different profession. This profession, again, and pathway is a medical degree. It's a practicing physician and a medical doctor. There's some examples there again of the different residencies and specialties. So take a snapshot of that if you need to, or review the recording again and see which one of those you're interested in if you don't already know. Some avoidable scenarios, things that happened last year, some of the things happening now. And first and foremost of that is people who had said they didn't get the link, they actually didn't check their junk or spam. And so it's possible that that confirmation email that we received, your UC app, and then the link email probably went into junk or spam. Check there first. When it comes to inviting people to interview, we also do email as well as phone. And there are moments where we weren't able to leave a voicemail at all. So things like that you could take care of. And then don't wait till the last minute. Ruben had explained some different scenarios of delaying that, getting the access link. So don't wait till the last minute. If you could do it before the Thanksgiving holiday break, that'd be great. And again, be wise at choosing which letter of recommenders you want to write in your behalf and who can share more about you and your potential as a medical student and future doctor. ChatGPT is becoming a very, very popular tool as people go through school. What we're saying to you is to be cautious of how often you use this, and if you're using it at all for your PIQs or your responses. I tell students all the time, your story is not in ChatGPT. But again, if you're using this as a tool and you use it too frequently, if there's some concern by any committee member on the UC app or on the supplemental app about academic integrity or plagiarism, we can rescind, revoke, or take back any offers of admissions or offer to Prime Plus. One thing that I wanted to highlight specifically that is on the UC application is you, the student, can actually elect and say yes or say no for a parent or a counselor to learn about where you are in the process of applying, or even what the result is of your admissions. Again, you could say parent, you can say a parent or a counselor releases yes or no, and this allows us to find out if a parent calls us if we're allowed to speak to them about your application or they want to find out the status. This sometimes happens too when counselors contact us and want to find out, did somebody from our school get in to your program? So keep that in mind as you're going through the UC app, and in case you missed that. So what you should be doing right now is the UC application, and to be considered for Prime Plus, you would pick UC Merced as a campus. You would choose a qualifying major or track, and you would start working on your responses to the PIQs as well as supplemental. Then, in order to get the access link, you would get the access link after submitting the UC application. Once we get that, the computer system will take a few days to be able to send you that link through email. Check your junk or spam. Once you get that email, you will see the link. You would log in with your net ID, and you would be able to upload your responses as demonstrated by Ruben's presentation when he went through the application, and then you would hit submit. These are the reminders for the deadline dates. November 30th is the first one coming up for the UC app. Then you will have until December 7th for the Prime Plus and the letters of recommender name and email. And then our computer system, and we would contact your recommenders, and they would have until December 14th. You should already be letting them know that you've chosen them as a recommender, and you're obviously also asking their permission, so they could start working on this too and would have more time to submit on your behalf. So start the application, continue to attend these webinars, or you can even come visit the campus if you haven't already, and then ask your questions all before deadline date, and then submit your application. My information is here. Prime Plus is the email address to connect with me and get responses to any of your questions, or swap out some emails or correct them if needed. If you need to speak with the regional advisor for your area, we have those contacts. We also have the diversity advisors if you want to get connected and find out more about the different groups here on campus. And if you are AB 540 or UNDOC, or are asking questions for someone on their behalf, we do have advisors that can answer those questions. And so I'll hand it over now to Ricky. I think she's monitoring the Q&A, and it is all of you as participants, your time to ask your questions.
Thank you so much, Ruben and Noreen. Fantastic job as always. We do have questions coming in. And so to our audience and to our listeners, if you haven't yet sent your question in, you still have some time. So go ahead and hit the Q&A button, send in that question, and we will get to that here in just a moment. And speaking of questions, let's dive right in. The first one I have, what would happen if I'm accepted into SJV Prime Plus, but I already have my general education finished? Would I finish my bachelor's early?
There is no completing Prime Plus early or later. We have projected when a student enters medical school, and that is really the key timeline that we are looking at. Anyone who is coming in with a lot of college credit from dual enrollment or AP, etc., and trying to get all of there's many students that I know trying to get their general education courses out of the way. We would advise students in that case to consider a double major, consider a minor, or some students have actually talked about going abroad for the semester in terms of gaining credits and electives by a semester somewhere else. And so those are options in terms of making sure your undergrad portion is still 4 years. If you're concerned about having to pay a full 4 years because you chose dual enrollment to save you time and money, then two things is submit an application and see what your financial offer is from us. That's one option. Another option is to actually go ahead and proceed and maybe start somewhere else where they will take all of your credits, and then consider applying to SJV Prime.
Very good. Thanks, Noreen. The next question has to do with letters of recommendation. So are we recommending that folks get letters of recommendations from medical professionals whom they've worked with in the past? So an example, someone's giving us a chief operating officer of Kaiser in Sacramento. Would that be a good choice, or does it need to be from instructors or a combination?
So one thing that is recommended is that one of the letters of rec come from an instructor. If you want the second letter of rec to be from a coach, an advisor, a professional, the doctor you shadowed, somebody you'd worked for, etc., or somebody who had directed an internship you were in, that is totally possible too. That could definitely be the second letter of recommendation. What we don't advise is you're just submitting and asking a letter of rec because of their title and because of their position, and they don't know anything about you. We would rather you pick someone not because of status or title or location or place, but because they have witnessed you, not just as a student, but perhaps as a person, as a volunteer, okay? And I think we are getting a lot of people saying, I've shadowed someone, and we when I'm advising them, I'm asking, well, how many days, how many hours did you shadow with them? And someone will literally just say, oh, I was just there for the weekend, or I was there for a week. And if you feel like your engagement with the chief operating officer, your engagement with them has been meaningful and deep, and they can actually share who you are as a person, then absolutely ask that person. But if it's just to name drop a title to us, that's not necessary.
Very good. And then is applying to SJV Prime Plus program or pathway, is that a binding commitment?
I'm going to answer this in a few ways. And I think I got this email, just haven't responded to it yet. So if you're that person, you're saving me time. Okay. If you're interpreting the word binding as the offer commits you to coming to UC Merced, the answer is no. Binding offers, if I'm interpreting it correctly, sometimes comes with schools who offer early admission. And schools who offer early admission, sometimes those are considered binding, and you would have to stop applying to other places. This is not that, because we aren't doing early admission for SJV Prime Plus, and we're telling you the commitment deadline is May 1st. Again, all of our offers go out in March, and then students have all of April to think about it with their families. And then May 1st is the commitment deadline. So it is not binding. It is binding in the sense that you cannot accept only the medical school offer and then choose to go to a different UC. The medical school offer is tied to finishing your bachelor's at UC Merced, because the entire faculty, the pathway, the support system, and the mentorship is with UC Merced and UCSF Fresno. Does that answer the question?
I think it did. If not, and if our listener is still on with us, feel free to write something back in.
Okay, yeah.
Follow up. Great job, Noreen. Thanks. Okay, so now we have a question coming in. This person's letting us know that they have not yet received the supplemental question email. So that's more of a statement, not a question, but is there something we can advise them on? Are those still coming out, or have they not been sent? Or
okay, so the question is, so today's Monday. If you submitted your UC app on Friday, it's going to take us this week to get it to you. And this is a short week for Veterans Weekend. So I'm going to defer to Ruben, but I'm going to also echo what Ruben says. If it's a UC app you submitted on Friday and you haven't received it yet, or you've already checked your junk or spam, it's going to take a few days, Ruben.
Yeah, if you submitted Friday, then you should receive the regular Merced received your application email Now I'm forgetting timing. You should have received it today or tomorrow sometime. And then the Prime Plus app will likely go out to you tomorrow as well. So Friday, we would have gotten your application on Saturday, but we don't work on Saturday, or at least my team that loads the apps don't work on Saturday. So they would have loaded it into our systems today. And that kind of kicks everything else off. So you should get the Prime Plus email tomorrow. We're on Monday still, right? So Tuesday or Wednesday. If you submitted your app right now, you're listening to Noreen, me, and Ricky, and you're just like, I'm going to submit it now. We should get your application tomorrow, and you should get your Prime Plus invitation on Wednesday or Thursday. So again, depends on the timeline. I would say between 3 to 5 business days, you should definitely have received your invitation. So if it's been 6, 7, maybe 10 business days and you haven't seen it yet, then dig around in your application, search for Prime Plus everywhere you possibly get emails, and see if you can find that email, because it definitely should not take more than 5 to 10 business days for you to get the invitation message. And same with your recommenders too. Encourage them to check their spam, junk, whatever emails, because those are sent within an hour of you submitting their emails to us. So yeah.
And then let me just ask a follow-up question for the audience. Have all the October 31st UC applications submitted should have received Prime Plus? Okay.
Yep. If you submitted it in October, you definitely by now should have received it. It's been more than those 5 business days, I would say. So yeah, if you submitted the 31st of October, you should have received it. I would say by Friday of last week, you should have received it.
So if you're not in any of those situations and you're still having issues, then email primeplus@ucmerced.edu. Email me your name, the email address you used on your application, and if you have it, your application ID, then we will follow up and see what's wrong.
In fact, I'll add, Noreen, that at the time of this recording, November 6th, 2023, anyone who submitted their app on Thursday, November 2nd, should have received their invitation by Sunday, November 5th, because I actually worked this weekend. So
of course you did. Very good.
Right.
Thank you both so much. And again, it bears repeating, make sure that you also are keeping in mind that this is a short week. We have Veterans Day, and then we also have Thanksgiving and a couple of extra days off that week as well. So just keep that in mind. That always can kind of affect some things whenever it does have to do with business days. All right, so the next question. If I apply to UC Merced and SJV Prime, but I don't get an offer, does that also mean that I did not get accepted into UC Merced at all?
No, that's not true. So what happens in March actually is there are 2 notices. There'll be a notice about your UC admissions. Then there'll be a notice about Prime Plus offers. So just because someone does not get into Prime Plus, it does not affect any offer you've been given to the UC Merced campus. Okay, but you absolutely have to choose UC Merced offer in order to accept the Prime Plus.
Very good. And now the December 7th deadline, we've got a question asking us, are those actual letter of recommendations, are they due by December 7th, or do folks just need to have the information inputted by December 7th?
December 7th deadline is the responses to your 6 questions and names and emails of 2 letters of recommenders. We and the computer system take care of the rest in notifying those recommenders to submit their letter for you by December 14th.
Perfect. And can we
but
talk
also, sorry, Ricky, if I may add, but do your part too, log back into that website that you're given to submit your piece. And after December 7th or after you submit, keep an eye on those references, right? You can see when they've submitted their letters. So if it's December 10th and you haven't seen them submit their letters, we'll be sending them reminders, but you give them reminders too, right? Call them, you know, email them, text them if you have their text number, and remind them, hey, you've got 4 days left. And then on the 13th, you still don't see it submitted, remind them again. So do your part, we'll do our part, but they'll probably listen to you more than they'll listen to us.
One of the easiest fix, or the most common problem, is having the wrong email address. And one of the, again, easiest fix is sometimes students may have written .com, .edu, .net, or .org and gotten the rest of it correct. So it will bounce back to us. So as you rush through that, or if you rush through that, you might just unconsciously say, oh, this is .edu, or oh, this is .org, or this is .com. Those are some things I've had to fix, and it's really easy to just get the wrong suffix at the end, or yeah.
And there's a general question about interviews. They're just asking, will there be interviews? So if there's anything around that topic we'd like to mention tonight.
Yes. So after the applications have been screened along with the letters of rec, we invite students for an interview in February.
Very good. And here's a question we get often. I was wondering how many applicants actually applied to the PRIME program. Do we have that number?
Last year is the first year for our process. This will be the second year. So last year's applicant pool was over 1,200.
And what happens if the recommenders don't get the letters in by their deadline? How does that impact the applicant?
The application does not move forward. It would be an incomplete app.
And we have
go ahead.
Okay, a question about the financial aid. So how much funding that we provide students that join the medical school program for their first year?
So because everybody's financial situation is different, I cannot give you an exact amount of how much aid you're going to get. The way that I can answer this question is the UC application that you submit is considered for UC awards. So even if you don't apply to Prime Plus, the UC application is not just for getting reviewed for your admissions, it's getting reviewed for scholarships and grants as well. While that is happening, there is an award for Prime Plus that is completely separate than the UC admissions award. And so, again, I cannot give an exact number because everybody's financial aid is different. Yeah.
Very good. And the next question, if I were to apply to one major, but then I changed my mind later on, would I be able to switch to my alternative major?
Do you want to answer this, Ruben? I can answer it, but do you want to answer?
Sure. So yeah, in terms of switching majors, now Merced, for your undergraduate application, so not Prime Plus, your regular undergraduate app, we don't really consider the major you've applied to admit you, although we do admit you to your major. So when I'm reading your app, I don't see that you're bio, CSE, anything. I just see that you applied to Merced, and I will admit you, hopefully, to our campus, regardless of your major. But when you are admitted again, you are admitted to the major that you chose. So if you decide to change your major, whether to alternate major or whatever, and we know most of us are going to change our majors sooner or later, right? I'm still changing my major. It's okay. Then you'll work with your academic advisors if you decide to attend our campus. So they typically, before they send you course registration information in June, they'll confirm that you're still interested in the major that you've applied for, and give you an opportunity to update your major with them at that moment in time. So alternate major or not, if you attend Merced non-Prime Plus, you will have an opportunity to change your major. If you are admitted to Prime Plus and you're looking at changing your major, then you're really going to have to consider that. And I'll let Noreen answer how likely it is you can change your major if you're admitted to Prime Plus.
Okay, thanks, Ruben. So Ruben responded in terms of your choices for the UC Merced campus. Now, for Prime Plus, we are requiring you to only choose anything that was green and yellow on the slide that is a qualifying major or qualifying track. Now, if you're going to switch your major, that process is when you are admitted, but you would be picking and choosing within the qualifying tracks. So biological sciences, chemistry, or public health, or bioengineering. You cannot choose outside of those qualifying tracks, or you're jeopardizing your position in the program, because you need to finish the program in 8 years.
Very good. And then will we be offering interviews to everyone, or is there a filtering process for those folks who actually get selected for the interviews?
No, not everyone gets an interview. For obvious reasons, we can't interview 1,200 people. Each phase in the process, there are different reads, multiple reads, and the application pool gets trimmed down each phase. I can't give you the number of how many we're going to interview, but we are expecting to do all interviews in February.
Great. And is a sophomore year STEM teacher letter of recommendation considered recent enough for the requirements that we have?
Yeah, it's high school and it's STEM and it's an instructor. Again, the reminder is that they remember who you are. They know who you are. You might have kept in contact with them even if you're no longer a sophomore. So absolutely.
Very good. And one more recommendation letter question. Are we able to ask our counselor to write a recommendation letter? My counselor is part of the STEM faculty.
Absolutely. You can ask, besides an instructor, you can ask your counselor, advisor, coach, employer, supervisor. Some people have asked their pastor, etc.
Very good. Well, that does wrap up all of our questions and answers right on time, which is fantastic. Would either of the guests tonight, would either Noreen or Ruben, do either of you have any comments or suggestions here at the end before we close out?
Other than just remember the deadline dates, ask all of your questions before deadline dates. Our recordings from previous webinars will be posted. This is our last live webinar. And we will again refer you to the different email addresses, phone, webinar recordings, etc., and emailing us if you have questions. So.
And no other tips besides, I know November 30th is the normal undergraduate deadline, but because of that time frame we've been talking about, and I don't work every weekend, most but not everyone. Get that undergraduate app submitted as early as you can if you're interested in Prime Plus, just to give yourself more time to get the invitation and to give your recommenders more time to submit their letters as well.
Very good. Thank you so much, Noreen and Ruben, and of course, all of our fantastic listeners sending in those questions. And what an exciting process that they are in right now. So congratulations to everyone for getting to this point in your educational future and making these very important decisions. And we are so excited to hopefully see you on campus someday very soon, either for a campus event, a campus tour, or just, just to come and meet us and say hello in person. So if you do have any questions, go ahead and look over in that chat box. We did put several links in there, including Noreen's contact information and the link if you'd like to either attend a future webinar or watch one of the instant replays from one of the past events. And tonight has also been recorded, and this will be available later this week as well. Best of luck to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, my name's Ricky Hill, the e-recruiter here. You will see me many more times in the month of November, as well as my other friends here with me on screen. Until next time, have a great night, and we will see you very soon. Best of luck, everyone. Take care.
Good night.